Everyone to this webinar between AION Labs and BioMed on the topic of AI-powered discovery to enable molecular glue therapies. My name is Christian Tidona. I'm the founder of the BioMed Institute in Heidelberg, Germany. That's what you see behind my back. And I'm joined today by Yair Benita and Mati Gil. Yair, would you like to introduce you? You're still on mute.
No, my mouse stopped working. I didn't charge it.
Here we go.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly well.
Okay. I'm Yair Benita. I'm the CTO of AION Labs. I have scientific background and training in bioinformatics. Worked in multiple roles in the industry, leading computational teams. Mati?
Cool. Mati, your turn.
Mati Gil, I have the honor of being the CEO of AION Labs, formerly of Teva, and before that of the Israeli government. So if anyone wants to talk politics, I'm happy to do that as well. And nice to see everyone here and look forward to discussion.
Cool. Thanks, Mati. So before we start, just a couple of housekeeping rules. All of you, you're encouraged to ask questions throughout the entire webinar. Please type them in the Q&A section. That's the box at the bottom of your screen. Also, you can, if you see questions you like from your fellow participants, you can upvote them so that they are preferred. Feel free to type questions whenever you have them during the presentation, and then during the Q&A portion, I'm going to moderate the Q&A and go through all of those questions. And our colleague Rita, who's also online, will post useful information in the chat so you can read that as well if you're asking for additional information. And without further ado, I would quickly start with an overview about the BioMed Institute. Let me quickly share my screen. Okay, I believe you can see my screen now. Good. So let's start. The BioMed Institute was started in 2013, so we are roughly 10 years old, and we are embedded on the campus of the University of Heidelberg in Germany. That's the picture also which you see in my back. And our mission is to combine the best of the two worlds, academia and industry. So on one hand, a lot of bright ideas, a lot of creativity, and on the other hand, the know-how to turn those ideas into something that ultimately will help patients. And we do this using a new innovation model at this interface between academia and industry, which we published in Nature Biotech in 2015. Now, BioMed Institute, in addition to Heidelberg, is now also on the ground in the US, close to the campus of Yale University in New Haven. And of course, we have some core values, before I come to AION Labs, some core values which are important to us at every site where we're active. The first one is cross-leverage. We inspire and motivate each other to unleash our full potential. So what does it mean? We want to work with people who have embraced the concept of growing by helping others. So early career scientists or entrepreneurs who love science, who love to solve big problems, and at the same time share their ideas and are very passionate about helping each other. Also cross-pollinate, we embrace diversity as the source of innovation. Our belief is that from the more different perspectives you look upon the same problem, the higher the probability that innovation will happen. And as you will see, all of us are different in our incubators and our institutes, and it's good like that. And we really celebrate diversity. And third is aim high. Our goal is to enable a new generation of targeted therapies. So it's a place where you can really make a difference. In Heidelberg, we've been working with 6 different pharma companies, and in addition to that, with 4 pharma companies and partners in Israel. In Heidelberg, we have started 20 research groups, and all of these research groups have a budget between 3 and 5 million euros and work on very deep questions in science. We're also publishing. We have more than 50 publications in peer-reviewed journals. We're also educating. We have completed more than 60 bachelor, master, and PhD theses. And we have a very strong focus on deep disease biology and artificial intelligence. We started 10 years ago, and 10 years ago, it was not so clear whether we can attract really top talent from around the world. But now, 10 years down the road, and with more than 200 alumni being in different parts of the world after they had joined Biomedics and run the project, I think I can say, yes, we can attract top talent. These are just some of the logos where people came from before they joined Biomedics or AION Labs. The career path of our fellows in Heidelberg and in New Haven usually go in two directions after they finish their project at our institute. About half of them go to industry, big pharma mostly, and become researchers in industry. And about half of them go back to academia and become professors, go for tenure track. And of course, the topic of today is our collaboration in Israel, where we have jointly built an ecosystem that seeds startups in the field of AI for drug discovery and development. We are operative since 2020. Our 5-year objective is to seed and incubate 20 startups in this particular field. We have already started 4 of those last year that have now materialized as startups. One is about de novo computational design of therapeutic antibodies. One is in the field of smart AI to advance clinical trial readiness of drug candidates. Another one is in AI-enabled design and optimization of antibodies for targeted therapies. And the 4th one is prediction of clinical trial outcomes for biomarker stratified cancer patient population. So you see, it's a very diverse set of big questions. For the ones who don't know the geography in Israel very well, and Mati will allude to that a little later, we're right next to the world famous Weizmann Institute in Rehovot, right across the street. If you wondered what is the spirit, what is the energy at our boot camps and also at AION Labs, this is a picture we took at one of the past boot camps, and this very well gives you an idea what it's all about. It's about great science, but it's also about having fun and helping each other. So with that, I'll end with the big question. Are you interested in building your own health tech startup? And if this is the case, it would be great if you could send your application and become part of AION Labs. You see the link at the top, and we're going to post that, I believe, also in the chat. And once you are on this in this career space and you have registered, you will be able to submit your application for the current AION Labs call. And now, without further ado, I hand over to Yair, who is going to tell us a little more about what we are looking for in this current call for application. Yair, the stage is yours, and I stop sharing.
Thank you, Christian. I will share my own screen. Going to full screen mode. Still see it okay? Yeah, good. Okay, hi everybody. So as I said, I'm responsible for the scientific aspect. So I will walk you a little bit through the background, the scientific background, and also what we're looking for in this challenge. And then we will switch to Mati, who will talk a bit more about Israel and the lab. Okay, so our challenge is titled AI Powered Discovery to Enable Molecular Glues. And let's start with some background on how this works. So what we're looking at is a natural process of protein degradation that occurs through ubiquitination. This is, by the way, a discovery. Ubiquitination was discovered by an Israeli professor, Aaron Chechanover, who won the Nobel Prize for this. I simplified this process. It's more complex than what you see here, but you can actually go to the publication and see the full process. But basically, the way it works, you have a certain targeted protein, and an E2 ligase that carries ubiquitin interacts with an E3 ligase that then transfers the ubiquitin to the specific target protein. Once that protein is tagged with the ubiquitin, it's also elongated to a ubiquitin chain, which then targets that protein for degradation through the proteasome machinery. Okay, so that's just a way to recycle protein within a cell. Okay, so how does this relate to drug discovery? So by investigating multiple drugs and their mechanisms, it was found that some drugs work as a molecular glue, Maybe thalidomide is the best known example. So thalidomide was developed in the 1950s by, I think, a German company as a sedative, but then had later many different uses. It's actually infamous because after several years, it was shown to cause birth defects in newborns. So it was, of course, taken away from the market, but nevertheless, it was heavily investigated. And what people found is that the mechanism is that cereblon, which is one of an E3 ligase, it causes cereblon to bind two transcription factors, IKZF1 and 3 Icarus transcription factors, and enhances their degradation. So it actually removes this protein from the cells, and that's what's leading, as you see on the right, to many downstream effects that cause some of these birth defects. So that mechanism has been extensively studied. And additional examples gave these ideas as a molecular mechanism of action. So how does it work in drug discovery? We would like to employ this concept of protein degradation to target actually any protein that can be degraded by NE3. So this is again taken from a very recent and very interesting Nature Drug Discovery article I recommend to all of you. So the first step is to identify a molecule that binds the protein of interest, the protein we want to degrade. Once we find it, we go through some optimization of that molecule to enhance that binding and make it more specific. In the third step, we're looking for an E3 ligase and design a molecule that binds the E3 ligase. And of course, these two need to be bound by a linker. So the last step is to modify that linker, and then you can have a drug that is bifunctional. On one hand, it binds the protein of interest in blue, on the other hand, the E3, and by bringing them closer together, that E3 is going to ubiquitinate the target protein and leads to enhanced degradation. Now, this is a chimeric molecule. It's not exactly what we want, but I'll explain in a bit. It's called PROTAC. So from that same Nature drug discovery paper, you can see a list of many different drugs that are in clinical trials that work on this mechanism. Okay, so most of them target only two different E3 ligases, CRBN, the one of thalidomide, cereblon, and VHL. These are the two that are most typically used for a variety of targets, a variety of indications. Now, the problem with PROTACs, which are these chimeric molecules shown in blue and red, so one binds, on the one hand, you bind the target, on the other hand, you bind the E3, and you have this linker that leads to a very big molecule. Now, when we defined this challenge of what we want to go deep into the problem, the pharma people mentioned that these molecules are actually very difficult to develop as drugs. They don't have the structure of small molecules that pharma, of the classical small molecules that pharma is used to develop. And then as we started to consider the field, there are actually two types of molecules. Ones that are molecular glues, which are small molecules from the family of thalidomide. This is pomalidomide. And there are the PROTACs, which are much bigger molecules like the ones I showed. Now, the PROTACs can, so what's the difference between the two? The PROTACs can be designed to bind any target protein to any ligase, even if they don't naturally occur, because you design the molecule, two molecules basically to bind each protein individually and then design the linker. But that gives you a molecule that is difficult to develop as a drug. What we really want is small molecules that are easier to develop as drugs, okay? So sort of standard or classical small molecule, if you will, but can act as a protein-protein binding enhancer. So by doing exactly what thalidomide is doing, gluing the E3 and the target protein, you can lead to enhanced degradation. Okay, so if we look at the history of how these molecular glues were actually discovered, most of them were discovered like thalidomide by serendipity, right? So we had a molecule that had a certain effect in a phenotypic screen. We studied it and we found that this is the mechanism of action. it's actually difficult to find molecular glues, except for the case where you already know the ligase and the target protein. Then you can start to design molecular glues for it. So you can go for rational design. So when we defined this challenge, we actually reasoned that if we'll be able to identify all the natural occurring E3 ligase and target protein, it will be much easier to design a small molecule that acts as a glue. Okay, so then we will be able to go through a molecular design. And this task is difficult because there are more than 600 known E3 ligase proteins, and they work in different contexts, different conditions, even within the same cell. Okay, so what is this challenge all about? What's our problem statement? So the first part and the most important, we feel, is the bottleneck of the drug discovery approach, is to identify these naturally occurring pairs. Once we identify them, we will be able to design the molecule. So remember that this should have a specific context, right? A certain protein is strongly degraded by an E3 in specific disease, in a specific cell type, within a specific tissue. So this should be the primary focus of this challenge. The second problem, once we want to design a molecular glue, it will be much easier to have the complex of the three-dimensional complex of the protein, so we can design the small molecule. That part is, we don't expect for you to come up with technology to solve this. Mostly we would like you to focus on the first part. The second part, the field is growing. AlphaFold and other tools are evolving and being developed, and we think that for the next few years we will see significant advances in this part. But we do expect you as a company to be able to deliver it. Finally, once we have the complex designed, we can also design the molecular glue. This is, for this challenge, out of scope. And the reason it's out of scope is because pharma does this very well. Once you solve 1 and 2, 3 can be done by pharma. They have all the expertise to do it. That doesn't mean you as a company can't develop your own molecule. You can, of course, develop your own molecule, but for the sake of this challenge, it's out of scope. We do think that 1 and 2 are the main components. Okay, so once you develop your technology, how will we know it works? So this is our suggestion for a proof of concept. There isn't a lot of information of mapping of E3 ligases to specific target proteins, but there are a few exceptions. For example, the protein MYC is a transcription factor that is extremely important in cancer. It's a target that for many decades people have tried to basically block. There is a thinking that it will make a huge difference in the treatment of cancer, but so far nobody was able to come up with a drug that works well on MYC. Now, MYC also has a lot of information of E3 ligases that ubiquitinate it and also deubiquitinate it. So DUB here shown are enzymes that actually remove the ubiquitin from the target protein. So there's actually a lot of information there already in the literature, so that can be used as a validation. And the way we thought of running that validation is to select a few dozens of cell lines and ask you to predict or rank the E3 ligases that work in each cell line in the specific context based on whatever information you will need. You can also come up with novel ones that potentially ubiquitinate MYC. And then we will test it experimentally by using a CRISPR approach. So we will knock down the E3 ligase, and we will measure using proteomics the protein abundance of MYC to see if it's affected by that E3. That is what we propose as a test. That specific figure you can see is taken from this paper that I referenced below. It has a lot of information on MYC, so you can take a look. Okay, what can you expect from us in terms of data? So typically pharma has a lot of data, but this space is relatively new. So we actually do not have a lot of data specifically on E3 ligases and target proteins. Most of the data is in the public domain. If there is data that we have, like some screens that have been done with CRISPR and so on, we will be happy to share it with you. So we're not hiding anything, of course, but keep in mind that there isn't a lot of pharma-specific data in that space. Also, if there's a specific data type you need, we may participate in the data generation if it aligns with the pharma goals. So there are in every pharma company, there are teams who are actually actively studying this. We will provide you with access to those teams, to the people who work on it, what they're doing, how they're developing, so you will be able to work side by side with them. And of course, we will assist with the validation because we have a major interest in using this technology. Okay, so up to now, that was about the challenge. I hope it was clear, and I'll be happy to take any questions. And now I want to walk you through our process of selecting candidates, founders for the new company we are going to start. So the first thing you have to do is to decide if you're applying as a group leader or as a co-founder. And the difference is that group leaders typically lead the small team of researchers. There can be only one, of course. And co-founders should be people who don't want to lead the team but would like to participate as researchers and co-found the companies. So we evaluate you within each group. So group leaders are compared to other group leaders and co-founders to other co-founders. And so you have to fill your application, and it's important for you to choose one or the other. Then the team of our team of pharma people who work in the space and myself, we will go through all the applications, and we will choose 5 group leaders and 10 co-founders, so 15 people in total. And then we will invite those 15 people to Israel for a full week for what we call the AION Labs bootcamp. And this was modeled by Christian's process, which I will explain here. So you apply as individuals. If you're a team of 2 or 3 people, you can apply as a team, but basically you apply individually, and just in your application, you have to mention that you're applying together with another person, but all of you have to apply. And then in each team, we will have 5 teams. In each team, we will have 1 group leader and 2 co-founders. Basically, you choose each other on the first day. You're going to give a 5 to 10 minute presentation on yourself, my life, my science, my passion, and then you will choose one another. So basically, there's an algorithm that will choose the optimum solution of if somebody wants to be with you and you want to be with them, then you'll probably end up on the same team. So for a week, we will challenge you together with the pharma mentors. Some of them will be on site, some of them will be online, but we will challenge you to come up with a great plan. We will push you to really solidify your plan so that you're able to present a solid plan to the investment committee. Our investment committee, which is composed of senior vice presidents in pharma and at AWS and in a VC, will actually select the winner of the bootcamp. And then we will offer the winner and the group leader the opportunity to start a company. And that group leader can choose his or her co-founders, right? So they don't have to be the co-founders who were on the team. It can be anyone from the bootcamp, and it can also be someone externally. Once you won and negotiate the terms, you can launch your company. So I should say that anyone can apply, right? We're looking for brilliant, creative people who understand the field and have the potential, so we don't pose any restrictions. Of course, it's very difficult to lead a team if you don't understand the space, so it's important for you to understand the content. Okay, so if you win and you launch your company, what can you expect from us? So once you launch the company, we will give you an office space here in our lab, basically for free. You get a total of $2 million for a period of 4 years. So the first 1 million is for the first 2 years. There's a milestone which we will agree together on that milestone, and then you will get another $1 million for the next 2 years. So a total of $2 million. In terms of technology, our partner is AWS. They will give you access to the cloud, also with some credit, so you can get started and not pay a lot, at least initially. And then whatever you need in terms of building your infrastructure, your work environment, building your technology correctly, they will support it. The pharma partners who participate here will give you access to data if they have it, but mostly scientific mentoring, access to the right people, constantly working with you. Our VC partner will help you with getting additional funding, even as soon as you get started. We'll provide business mentoring. We'll make sure that you're building a company that can be viable, that can be commercial, that has potential, and it's not just a research project. Our innovation engine, which is tested for a decade now, is basically biomedics. We rely on their expertise in building this process of innovation for pharma. And Christian, he will be a great mentor for all of you, I'm sure. And finally, we're doing this in Israel, which is Israel has been named the startup nation. Mati is going to talk about it more, but also there are really great people here with sort of entrepreneurship spirit. There's a centralized healthcare system that can, for many companies, be of use, which we will help you get access to. And it's also funded partially by the government. And that's my last slide. So with that, I'll transition to Mati, and I'll take questions after that, right? Okay, Mati, to you.
Hi everyone, and I'm just going to pull up my screen here so I could share that as well. And thank you all for being here with us. And please feel free to type any questions into the chat box there. Can everyone see my screen okay? Yair?
It's
okay.
white.
Now can you see it?
It's a white screen.
No, you can't see the slides?
Yeah, it's white. Yeah.
It's just a white background.
Let me stop
it
it
looks
again.
like a drawing board. Maybe you use the drawing board.
Can you see it now?
Perfect.
Okay, great. So I have the honor of being the CEO here of AION Labs, and AION Labs is an innovation lab that, as Christian and Yair mentioned before, was established last year, about a year ago, by all these great partners, all co-owners, with the support of biomedics. That is the secret sauce behind our innovation engine here, and the support of the Israeli government. And what we're inviting you here is to come build your new startup here in Israel. And Israel is a great place. It's really a heaven for entrepreneurs, with a great healthcare system, specifically also in the biotech space, with an excellent healthcare system and excellent medical research data, both EMR data as well as beyond that, with genomic projects and biobank, etc. And what we're offering you here is the opportunity to build your new startup with a built-in product market fit, with all the support that Yair detailed before, here in Israel with us. And you can see here the sunny beaches of Tel Aviv, because in Israel, there's over 300 days of sun per year, about 320, and growing, with the effects of global warming, unfortunately. But it's also a great place to live in, a very open and friendly, liberal society here, with a lot of international schools, and great place for relocation, with good healthcare system, affordable healthcare that's globally affordable for everyone, and good schools for kids, and very centrally located, that no matter where you come from, if you want to be able to jump on a plane and either reach home or customers or investors, it's a very short flight, no matter which direction you're flying in. And from a work perspective, it's a very vibrant, open cultural ecosystem here. A very flat environment where it's truly a meritocracy, that those that bring the best ideas and have the right energies to be able to innovate and to be able to push a company forward are able to really shine in a dynamic and flexible workspace. You don't have a lot of the corporate feeling, even in the biggest companies that exist here, and everyone kind of, even if they work for big companies, gets in the same mindset to support startups to really raise their next rounds, develop their technologies, and grow. And I think the startup mindset has really taken over the corporate workspace here in Israel. So again, no matter which size of a company you work in, you'll see that everyone enters into that mindset, even if you're working with big pharma companies like the representatives that we work with in AION Labs. Just from a few fact standpoints, so we don't need to go through all of these, but you're happy to take happy for you to take a screenshot if you'd like. We are a very multinational, multi-ethnical, multi-religion country, religious country, and we are known, as mentioned by Christian, as a startup nation. But we're already scaling up, and we already have over 50 companies that are evaluated at least at their peak by over $1 billion, and starting to grow in headquarters that have grown out of Israel and attracting significant funding rounds here in Israel for these companies that are based out of Israel and then able to grow globally. And we're a country of around 10 million people here, but a very young and growing company with a growing economy and a lot of positive outlook here. And very with a very well-established leadership capability here in science. So you can see all the ranks here, but we do have a lot of great AI and technological scientists and data scientists, as well as life scientists here in Israel, both in early stage research, as well as in developed technologies and access to funding, both from Israel, from the US, as well as from the European Horizon programs, where Israel is one of the leading applicants and beneficiaries of funding from Europe as well, and one of the leaders in researchers per capita. And we located AION Labs here right at the center of Israel. So it's a very short drive or commute by train from Tel Aviv, close to Jerusalem, very close to the airport. You could actually see the area from our lab space in Israel. And in a 4-hour drive, you can be skiing in the mountains up north, and you can be, and if you're a fan like me of diving, you can be doing some of the best diving in the world in a 4-hour drive, either in Eilat or across the border in the Sinai or in Jordan, and all from where we are located in Rehovot in Israel, which is the biotech center of Israel. So it's really where we located our facility. It's right next to or above, depending on which way you want to look at it, the Weizmann Institute, one of the best research institutes in the world that I'm sure many of you here have already heard of, really ranked by any parameter as one of the top research institutes in biotech and in the life sciences, as well as in precise sciences in the world. A fantastic cultural place, very international. Christian is, we're thankful that he's on their board of directors of the Weizmann Institute, and I think that's just a vote of confidence for how multinational it is that they invite someone like Christian to be on their board. And part of their leadership, that they're not just looking at themselves as an Israeli institution, but really as one that wants to compete at a global scale, which is the same way we look at AION Labs, where we're a global innovation lab based in Israel, and really at the best location possible, next to the best science that Israel has to offer. And we've invested in building some nice facilities here in Israel. Here you could see the leadership of Merck R&D that came to visit us just a couple of weeks ago, the global leadership team of Merck R&D, and one of our startups, Ori Shachar from Omek AI, presenting to them. The startup has been in existence for less than 6 months, and already he's meeting with and pitching and receiving feedback from 30 leaders from the global leadership team of Merck R&D. And he did it a few months before that to the CEO of Pfizer. So we're getting a lot of traction and a lot of visibility in the nice facilities that we were able to build. And it's really, we've created a workspace and environment that is meant to be able to foster your capabilities to develop your science, develop your technology, and validate that it actually works. And that is the meaning behind our whole partnership, where we're bringing all these partners together to help support you, as Yair mentioned, from day one, remove as many barriers as possible in a new model for collaboration that we can help you to develop your, find the best talent, work with the best potential pharma partners in the industry, not just with one, but with four, with more data, more expertise, more capabilities, all representing the customer perspective, with a great computational partner and good funding opportunities for you to be able to grow your startup. We've done it already with 4 startups in the space this past year. If anyone has any questions, we're happy to address those. And it's a lot of fun. And we've had a lot of fun with the 4 boot camps that we've hosted here in Israel throughout the last year. So with a very diverse set of candidates that have come from 5 out of the 7 continents. So if anyone here is on the call from Australia, this is an open invitation because we would like to make that our 6th continent. And of course, if anyone comes from Antarctica as well, that's fine as well. But please, feel free to reach out to us. We are a very accessible team, and we would love to have you come here. About 60 of our out of the 60 candidates we had last year, half of them came from Israel, and the other half came from around the world, roughly. So this is an open invitation. You can reach out to Christian, Yair, myself, any of the biomedics or AION Labs team. We're very accessible and happy to answer any questions that you have. And of course, you could take down my contact information, and you can join us on LinkedIn and follow us on Twitter at AION Labs, or personally. We're very active as well if you want to stay in touch with any opportunity.